Welcome to my channel, HFY Revelation Strike. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel original story, written and owned by me. The mining colony's warning systems flashed red across every screen. In the control room, Blue Song's four hands moved quickly over the holographic controls, his crystalline body reflecting the emergency lights. The small colony of Astra beings had never expected trouble this far out in space. They were peaceful. Miners working on the edge of known space, gathering rare minerals that their species needed for sustenance. Elder Blue Song called out Crystal Hum, the youngest operator in the room. The long range scanners show multiple ships entering our system. They're not sending any friendly signals. Blue Song floated closer to the main screen, his transparent body clouding with worry. A natural reaction among the Astra. The ships on the screen were arranged in an attack formation. Anyone with even basic knowledge of space combat would recognize it, but the Astro weren't warriors. They had never needed to be. How many? Blue Song asked, his voice resonating like wine through crystal. 27 large vessels, Elder, and they matched the description of the Dark Swarm fleet. The control room fell silent. Everyone had heard stories of the Dark Swarm, the terror fleet that appeared from nowhere, stripped colonies bare, and disappeared with all resources and survivors. No one who encountered them ever returned to tell their tale. That the only reason anyone knew about them was because of the evidence they left behind. Empty, broken colonies. We must contact a Galactic Council, said Crystal Ham, his young voice shaking. Blue Song's body dimmed slightly, their equivalent of shaking their head. The Council's nearest fleet is 3 weeks away at maximum speed. The Dark Swarm will be here in less than 2 days. The colony held 5,000 ASO souls, 5,000 of his people who had trusted him to lead them safely. Blue Song looked around the control room, seeing the fear in his people's clouding bodies. They were miner scientist families. They had no weapons, no defense systems beyond basic shields meant to protect against asteroids. Then he remembered something. The forbidden frequency. There is one option, Blue Song said slowly, but the Council has forbidden contact with them. Would you? Elder Crystal Hum moved closer, hope returning some clarity to his form. The Deathworlders, the humans, gasps echoed through the crystal walls. Every young Astra learned about humans in their history, lessons, the strange beings from a planet that should have killed them, a species that evolved on a world with crushing gravity, deadly predators, and extreme temperature changes. Their bodies were dense with muscle and bone, their minds sharp with survival instincts, and their technology was built to endure everything their hellish world had thrown at them. The Galactic Council had voted to isolate them centuries ago. Too dangerous, they said, too unpredictable, too willing to fight. The humans had accepted the decision with what they called a shrug and simply continued building their empire in their assigned sector space, but they had left behind one thing: an emergency frequency, a way to call for help if anyone ever truly needed them. Blue Song moved to the communications array. His fingers hesitated over the controls. Using this frequency would mean breaking the highest laws of the Council, but as he looked at the screen showing the approaching Dark Swarm fleet, he knew there was no choice. Elder Crystal Hum whispered, the stories say humans are violent and unpredictable. They might be as dangerous as the Dark Swarm. Blue Song body glowed with determination. The difference, young one, is the humans fight to protect, the Dark Swarm fight to destroy. Sometimes we must trust in the dangerous to save us from the evil. His fingers moved over the controls, inputting the frequency that no one had used in centuries. Emergency beacon activated, sending a powerful signal into the void of space. The message was simple, sent in the human language of English that all Astra learned as part of their history studies. To any human ships, this is the Astra mining colony in Sector 7B9. We are under attack by a hostile fleet. We have no weapons. We have children. Please help us, please. The message shot out faster than light, racing through the darkness between stars. All they could do now was wait and hope that the most feared species in the galaxy would choose to answer their call. Crystal Hum moved to the window, looking up at the stars. Do you think they'll come? Elder Blue Song joined him at the window. The stories say that humans never abandon a cry for help. Now we will see if the stories are true. Above them, the stars continue to shine, unknowing of the drama unfolding beneath them. Somewhere out there, their message was speeding through space, searching for the only beings in the galaxy that the Dark Swarm had never deemed to attack the Deathworlders, the humans there last. Hope Admiral Marcus stood on the bridge of the Earth Fleet's flagship Thunder, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. The massive ship, nearly 2 miles long, cruised through hyperspace with its escort fleet of 15 vessels. They were returning from a routine patrol of human space when the signal came through. Admiral called out Lieutenant Reed from the communication station. "We're picking up a distress signal. It's using the emergency frequency, Sir." Marcus straightened his back. The emergency frequency hadn't been used in over 200 years, not since the Galactic Council had decided that humanity was too dangerous to interact with. They'd left the frequency as a final lifeline, knowing that someday someone might need the very thing that made humans so feared, their ability to fight. "Play it." Marcus ordered, his voice deep and calm. The message echoed through the bridge, the alien voice speaking careful English, begging for help. The crew fell silent as they listened to the desperation in those words. "Sir, the ship's Atlas appeared as a blue hologram. The signal originates from an astro mining colony. Scans indicate they are being approached by 27 warships based on their formation and energy signatures. They match known Dark Swarm patterns." Marcus's jaw tightened. Everyone had heard of the Dark Swarm pirates and raiders who preyed on peaceful species. They'd never dared enter human space, but their reputation for cruelty was well known. "Time to intercept if we alter course," Marcus asked. 38 hours at maximum safe speed. Atlas replied. "However, the Dark Swarm will reach the colony in for 47 hours. We have a narrow window." Admiral Lieutenant Reed looked up from her station. "Sir, the Galactic Council's laws clearly forbid us from entering that sector. We be breaking at least 6 major treaties." Marcus walked to the front viewport, watching the streaks of hyperspace light pass by. He thought about the fear in that alien voice, about the children mentioned in the message. He thought about how humanity had accepted their isolation, understanding the galaxy's fear of them, but they had never accepted the idea of standing by while the innocent suffered. "Atlas," he said quietly, "what happens to Astra colonies when the Dark Swarm finds them?" The AI's hologram flickered. "Based on historical data, sir, total destruction, no survivors." Marcus turned to face his crew. Every eye on the bridge was fixed on him. They all knew what was at stake, not just the lives of the colonists, but possibly humanity. Standing in the galaxy, breaking the treaties could lead to even stricter isolation, maybe even sanctions. "Send a message to Earth Command," Marcus ordered. "Inform them that we received an emergency signal and are responding as per Article 7 of the Human Emergency Response Protocol." A small smile crossed Lieutenant Reed's face. Article 7 was an old Earth law predating their contact with aliens. Any ship captain who ignores a distress signal is guilty of failing to render assistance under maritime law. Atlas plot and intercept course. Push the engines to maximum. Lieutenant Reed, send a message to the colony. Tell them. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell them help is coming, sir." Atlas's hologram flickered with calculations. "Even at maximum speed, we have only a 9% chance of arriving before the Dark Swarm begins their attack." Marcus smiled, and there was something in that smile that reminded everyone on the bridge why humanity had earned their fearsome reputation. "Then we'll just have to be quick about the rescue, won't we?" "All hands," his voice echoed through the ship's communications battle stations. "We're about to remind the galaxy why you don't hunt the innocent in our universe." The massive engines of the Thunder roared to life, pushing the ship faster through hyperspace. Behind it, 15 other human warships followed their crews, preparing for battle. They had trained all their lives for this, carrying the hope that someday someone would need protectors more than they feared humanity's strength. In the command chair, Marcus watched as his crew worked with practice. Deficiency, they've been called monsters, dangers, Deathworlders, but now they would show the galaxy the truth about humanity, that the same strength that made them dangerous also made them the best possible allies. "Hold on," he whispered to the distant colony. "The monsters are coming to save you." The Dark Swarm fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts there. Black ships blocking out the stars above the colony. Blue as watched from the underground command center as the first shots lit up the morning sky, tearing through the colony's weak shields as if they were made of paper. "Everyone is in the shelters." Crystal hum reported his crystalline form dimming with fear. "All 5,000 colonists are below ground level. The Underground chambers have been built to protect against solar radiation and meteor strikes, not warships, but they. We're better than nothing. Blue Song watched the main screen as the first Dark Swarm landing craft touched down. Near the main mining facilities, they're not destroying everything. Notice one of the operators are being carried with equipment. Blue Song's form clouded with understanding because they want our mining machinery. They don't just destroy. They steal what they can use. The first images of the Dark Swarm troops came. Through the security cameras, they move like oil across water, their black armor, making them look like walking shadows. Each one carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. The Astra had always thought of themselves as tall, but these creatures towered over their normal height by at least 2 feet. Elder Crystal Hum's voice shook. We receive a response from the humans before the Dark Swarm arrived. They're coming. Should we try to hold out? Blue Song watched as the Dark Swarm methodically began searching the colony's buildings. Their movements were practice efficient. They'd done this many times before. We have no choice but to hold out, he said. But we must be smart. Atlas seal all data cores. Activate the emergency deletion protocols. The colony's maintenance AI responded with a soft chime. Data cores sealed. Elder, all mining records and colonial databases are now locked behind quantum encryption. The Dark Swarm had reached the main administration building. Through the cameras, Bluon could see them placing small devices on walls and doors. Seconds later, those devices pulsed with energy, and the locks melted away. They're going to find us, whispered one of the younger operators, her crystal form almost transparent with fear. Yes, Blue Song agreed, but they won't find us easily, and they won't find what they're looking for. The colonists had spent the last 2 days preparing. They hidden their most valuable mining data, scattered their food supplies across multiple storage rooms, and set up false leads that would take time to investigate, time they desperately needed. A loud boom echoed through the underground chambers. The Dark Swarm had found one of the main entrance points to the underground complex. All security doors closed and locked. Blue Song ordered, activate the emergency maze protocol. The underground complex had been built with a clever design feature. In emergencies, the internal walls could move, turning the straight corridors into a complex maze. It wouldn't stop the Dark Swarm forever, but it would slow them down. Elder Crystal Hum called out. They're broadcasting a message. The message played through the colony speakers, the voice deep and artificial sounding. Attention, Astra Colony, your resources are now property of the Dark Swarm. Surrender and provide access to your data cores, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will ensure your suffering serves as a lesson to others. Blue Song's crystal form glowed with a fierce light. Send them our response. Crystal Hum looked uncertain. What response? Elder, send them nothing. Let them waste time waiting for an answer that will never come. Every minute they spend waiting is another minute closer to our rescue. Through the cameras, they watched as the Dark Swarm forces grew frustrated with the silence. They began using heavier weapons on the doors, but each sealed door they melted through only LED them to more corridors, more choices, more delays in the shelter areas. 5,000 Astra huddled together, their crystal bodies glowing softly in the darkness. They could hear the sounds of the Dark Swarm above them, searching, breaking, destroying. But they held on to hope. The hope carried in the message they'd receive. Hold on, the Deathworlders are coming. Blong looked at the countdown timer. He'd started when they received the humans' response. 36 hours until their estimated arrival. They just had to survive until then. Keep watching the stars, he told his people. Our SARS are coming, and may the Dark Swarm learn what it means to hurt those under human protection. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace on the dark side of the colony's moon, their engines cold and silent. Admiral Marcus stood on the Thunder's bridge watching the tactical display. Showed 23 Dark Sworn ships in or around the colony. 4 had landed on the surface. Status report. Marcus ordered quietly. They haven't detected us yet. Lieutenant Reed reported their sensors are focused on the colony. They're still trying to break into the underground complex. Atlas's hologram appeared, showing a detailed scan of the situation. The colony's defenders have been clever. They turned their underground complex into a maze. The Dark Swarm have only managed to reach the outer sections. Marcus nodded, a grim smile on his face. Smart colonists, they've bought us the time we needed. Atlas, what's the status of our new toys? The gravity pulse weapons are charged. Admiral, all ships report ready to gravity pulse weapons were humanity's. Newest innovation, the Galactic Council, had banned them, calling them too dangerous. They hadn't wanted the Deathworlders to have weapons that could manipulate the very force that had made their homeworld so deadly. Send a signal to all ships. Marcus ordered Operation Thunderstrike begins in 3 minutes. Remember, we want prisoners. The galaxy needs to know what happened here. The human fleet moved silently through space, spreading out in an attack formation that would have seemed suicidal to most species. 15 ships against 23 larger vessels, but humans had learned long ago that size wasn't everything. Sir Reed called out. The Dark Swarm are broadcasting to the colony again. They're there, threatening to start executing prisoners if they don't get access to the data. Course Marcus's face hardened. Move up the timeline. Begin now. The human fleet accelerated as one, their engines lighting up the darkness. The Dark Swarm sensors finally detected them, but it was already too late. Target their engines and weapons. Marcus commanded, show them what happens when you threaten the innocent. The Thunder Gravity pulse weapon fired. First, a beam of invisible force struck the nearest Dark Swarm ship, crushing its engine section. Like a titan, the massive ship spun helplessly, its crew experiencing crushing gravity levels that their bodies had never evolved to handle. Dark Swarm fleet is responding, Atlas reported. They appear confused by our attack pattern. Of course, they were confused. No sane species would split their fleet into small attack groups, each ship charging directly at a superior enemy vessel. But humans had learned warfare on a world where predators attacked in packs, where smaller hunters could bring down larger prey. They're firing, Reed announced. The Dark Swarm ships launched their energy weapons, filling space with deadly beams. But human ship SS were built differently, their hulls designed to withstand the crushing pressures of Earth's gravity. Shrug off hits that would have vaporized other species' vessels. Return fire. Marcus ordered all ships execute attack pattern Delta. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves, each ship supporting the others. Where the Dark Swarm expected them to retreat after taking damage, they pressed forward. Where they expected the humans to break formation under fire, they held together. Sir Atlas reported the enemy is attempting to regroup. Their commander appears to be realizing we're not a normal opponent. Marcus watched as his ships tore through the Dark Swarm formation. The gravity pulse weapons were doing their work, crushing engines, weapons, and power systems. The Dark Swarm's technological advantage meant nothing against weapons designed by beings who had evolved under crushing gravity. Message from the colony. Reed called out. The Dark Swarm ground forces are retreating to their ships. They're running from us or not. Today, Marcus said firmly, send to all ships, block their escape. I want those ground forces capture. The galaxy needs to see what these creatures really are. The battle had lasted less than 15 minutes, and already half the Dark Swarm fleet was disabled or destroyed. Their remaining ships were trying to retreat, but found themselves trapped by the very force that had shaped humanity's evolution. Gravity itself sent a message to the Dark Swarm commander. Marcus ordered, tell them, this is what happens when you prey on the innocent. Surrender now or learn why the galaxy fears the Deathworlders. Blue song, and the colony's leadership watched in amazement through their few remaining external cameras. As the battle unfolded above their world, the human ships moved in ways that defied conventional space combat wisdom, taking hits that should have destroyed them, pushing forward when any sane species would retreat their ships. Our damaged Crystal Hum observed, watching the Thunder take another direct hit. But they're not stopping. How can they keep fighting with such damage? Because Blue Song replied softly, they evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Everything about them is built to endure. On the Thunder's bridge, Admiral Marcus stood calmly as his ship shuddered under another impact warning. Lights flashed across multiple systems, but he knew his ship could take it. They had built their vessels like they built everything else to survive whatever the universe threw at them. Port side armor is down to 40%. Atlas reported 2 decks are exposed to space. Emergency force fields are holding crew status. Marcus asked, watching as another Dark Swarm ship succumbed to gravity weapons. 3 injured, no casualties. Reed reported damage control teams are already repairing the breaches. They say they'd done harder repairs during training, sir. The Dark Swarm commander, Lord Hunter, watched from his flagship with growing horror as his fleet was systematically torn apart by ships that should have been destroyed. 3 times over, his species had ruled the dark space between stars through superior technology and tactical doctrine, but these humans ignored everything they knew about warfare. My lord, his second reported the human vessels are still advancing their hulls, are heavily damaged, but their weapons remain at full power. They're not retreating. Why aren't they retreating? Because they're insane. Lord Hunter hissed. No species fights like this. No one advances into superior firepower. No one, his words cut off as a flagship. Shuddered. The humans had fired another gravity pulse, and he felt his own body growing heavy as artificial gravity crushed down on his bridge in the colony. Below, the dark swarm ground forces were experiencing their own revelation about human nature they had tried to return to their landing ships, only to find them crushed by invisible forces. Their holes crumpled like dying insects. Look, Crystal Hum pointed at one of the camera feeds. The humans are landing their own troughs. Now the human marines emerged from their dropships wearing powered armor that made them even larger than the dark swarm, where the raiders had moved like shadows. The humans moved like thunderstorms, each step leaving imprints in the metal deck plating. Surrender. The human marine commander's voice went through external speakers. You have 10 seconds to comply. The dark swarm troops, for the first time in their history, dropped their weapons. They had never encountered a force that could not be broken, could not be scared, could not be defeated through superior technology. On the Thunder's bridge, Marcus received the report of the ground forces surrender with satisfaction status of the enemy fleet. 17 ships disabled. Atlas reported 6 attempting to retreat. No ships remain combat effective. Marcus, open a channel to all vessels, friend and foe alike. This is Admiral Marcus of the Human Third Fleet. To all Dark Swarm ships, your ground forces have surrendered. Your fleet is in ruins. This is your final chance. Surrender now, or we will show you why our homeworld is called a Deathworld. Blow on watch. The remaining Dark Sworn ships powered down their weapons. In just 30 minutes, the most feared raider in known space have been completely defeated by the species that the galaxy had tried to isolate. I understand now, he said quietly to Crystal Ham. The council feared them because they are strong, but they never understood the humans are strong because their world taught them to protect themselves, and now they protect others. Above the colony, the human fleet took up defensive positions, their damaged hulls gleaming in the starlight. They had arrived as saviors and proven themselves to be not just warriors but guardians. The Deathworlders had shown the galaxy that being dangerous and being noble were not mutually exclusive. Lord Hunter of the Dark Swarm stood on his flagship's bridge, watching as his mighty fleet drifted powerless in space. The human gravity weapons had turned his once proud armada into floating wreckage, but he still had one card to play, one final move that had always worked before. Open a channel to the human flagship. He ordered, his black armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Admiral Marcus appeared on the main screen, his weathered face showing no emotion behind him. The human bridge crews worked calmly despite the battle damage visible around them. You fight well, human lord. Hunter began using his most diplomatic tone. Perhaps we can reach an arrangement. We have wealth beyond stop. Mark has cut him off. We're not interested in breeze. Surrender your ships and prepare to be boarded. Lord Hunter's red eyes narrowed. You don't understand. The Dark Swarm have resources across 50 star systems. We could offer you 50 systems you've stolen from others. Marcus interrupted again. Lieutenant Reed, how many colonies have the Dark Swarm raided in the past year? 23 confirmed attacks, Sir Reed reported. No survivors found at any of them. The human admiral's face hardened. You see, Lord Hunter, we've been watching you for a long time. We stayed in our assigned sector of space, respecting the council's wishes, but we never stopped monitoring what happened beyond our borders. On the colony below, Blue Song and his people had emerged from their underground shelters. Human marines in powered armor stood guard as medical teams treated the few injuries from the siege. The colonists watched the exchange between the two commanders on public channels, their crystal bodies glowing with interest. You can't do this, Lord Hunter snarled, his diplomatic mask falling away. We are the Dark Swarm. We take what we want. We are nothing but bullies. Marcus said calmly. You prey on those who can't fight back, but you made a mistake. Today you attacked someone who asked us for help. The Thunder's massive form moved closer to the Dark Swarm flagship, its damaged hull somehow making it look even more threatening, like a warrior wearing battle scars with pride. One last chance. Marcus offered surrender now, and you'll face justice for your crimes resist, and we'll show you what happens when you push Deathworlders too far. Lord Hunter slammed his fist on his command console. We are the supreme power in the dark spaces. We will not bow to lesser beings who should have died on their brutal world. A small smile crossed Marcus's face. You still don't understand. We didn't survive. Our world, we mastered it. Atlas, execute final warning to human fleet's gravity. Weapons powered up again, but this time they worked in reverse. Instead of crushing, they nullified the artificial gravity on every Dark Sworn ship. For most species, this would be an inconvenience, but the Dark Swarm evolved in low-gravity environments, found themselves floating helplessly. Fun fact about humans, Marcus said, as he watched the Dark Swarm crews flail in zero gravity. We evolved to handle everything from 0 to 3 times Earth standard. Your bodies, on the other hand, are already showing signs of stress. In about 10 minutes, you'll start experiencing severe disorientation and 20 organ failure. Begins you when Lord Hunter gasped, trying to grab onto something solid. The Council forbids such weapons. The Council forbids a lot of things, Marcus replied, including helping peaceful colonies under attack. So tell me, Lord Hunter, do you really want to bet your life that we always follow the rules through the video feed? Lord Hunter could see the determination in the human's eyes. He saw no fear, no. His visitation, no doubt. He saw what his species had never understood, that the most dangerous beings in the galaxy were not those who loved violence, but those who had learned to use their strength to protect others. We surrender, Lord Hunter said, finally. Full and unconditional surrender. Marcus nodded. Once wise choice. Atlas, restore their gravity. Marine teams prepare for boarding. Let's show the galaxy, see what happens when raiders meet protectors. Blue Song watched as human ships move to secure the Dark Swarm fleet. They did it, he said softly. They actually did it. Crystal Hum nodded beside him. Yes, Elder, but I think we all learned something. Today the galaxy feared the human strength, but perhaps we should have feared what would happen without it. 3 months after the Battle of the Astra Colony, the Galactic Council chambers were packed with representatives from 100 species. The massive circular room hummed with excited conversation as, for the first time in 2 centuries, a human delegation stood at the speaker podium. Admiral Marcus wore his formal uniform, the battle damage to his ship's hull, now displayed proudly on the Thunder Service record. Behind him, beside him, stood Blue Song, his crystal form glowing with steady confidence. Members of the Council, Blue Song began 3 months ago. My colony faced extinction at the hands of the Dark Swarm. We had a choice: follow your rules and die, or call upon those you had labeled too dangerous to contact. We chose to live. The chamber grew quiet. On the main display, footage from the battle played silently. Human ships charging forward despite devastating damage. Marines in powered armor protecting colonists. Medical teams treating the injured of all species. The humans didn't just save us, Blue Song continued. They showed us what true strength means. Their ships were damaged, but never stopped. Their crews were injured, but kept fighting, not for glory, not for power, but to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Admiral Marcus stepped forward. For 200 years we respected your wishes. We stayed in our sector, built our colonies, and watched as raiders like the Dark Swarm preyed on peace species. We watched because you asked us to, but when someone finally called for help, we answered. The Council leader, a tall being of pure energy, spoke up. The treaties were clear. Admiral, your actions, while heroic, violated multiple laws. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Let me tell you about laws on Earth. We have an ancient law of the sea. Any captain who ignores a distress signal is guilty of failing to render assistance. It's been part of our code since before we reached the stars, because strength isn't just about having power. It's about how you use it. Blue Song activated a new display showing the Dark Swarm prison ships now under human guard. The Dark Swarm's leaders are confessed to attacking 57 colonies in the past decade. They chose their targets carefully, always peaceful species, always those who couldn't fight back. They assumed no one would come to help, but someone did come, Marcus added, and now we're here to propose a new arrangement. The chamber buzzed with interest on the upper levels. Representatives from 12 mining colonies watched intently. They had all heard about how one distress call had brought humanity's finest to the rescue. We don't want to rule, Marcus explained. We don't want to conquer, but we're offering something the galaxy desperately needs. Protection. Any peaceful colony that wants human protection can request it will respond to any distress call, defend against any aggressor, and ensure that what happened to those 57 colonies never happens again. And why should we trust you with such power, the council leader? Ask Blue Songs form glow brighter, because they already have the power. They've always had it, but instead of using it to conquer, they use it to protect. I've seen human children playing with our younglings, sharing Earth stories. I've seen their engineers helping us improve our defenses, asking nothing in return. They're not monsters there. Guardians of council chambers erupted in discussion on the public channels. Across the galaxy, billions watched as history was made. The footage from the battle had already spread everywhere, humans charging into combat to protect strangers, risking their lives for aliens they'd never met. We call them Deathworlders. Blong concluded, but perhaps we should call them what they truly are, protectors we always needed, but were too afraid to trust. The vote that followed was not even close. The old treaties were revised, allowing human ships to respond to any distress call within a year. Hundreds of colonies would request human protection. The raiders and pirates who had played the galaxy's peaceful species found themselves faying an enemy they couldn't intimidate or outfight. As Marcus and Blong left the council chambers, the admiral smiled. You know what he said back on Earth. There's an old saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Blue Song's crystal form sparkled. Then it's fortunate that when we call the good men of Earth chose to do something above them, the thunder waited in orbit. Its battle-scarred is now a badge of honor. The ship that had answered a desperate call and changed the galaxy forever. The Deathworlders had finally found their true purpose, not to be feared, but to be the guardians of those who needed them most. Subscribe for more engine videos to HFY.